How's it going everyone? Cinder here. Here we are with the second episode of Tugs Character Profiles. Today we are covering Big Mac. Big Mac is the number 2 of Captain Star's fleet. Due to his immense size and strength, he is often used for heavy duty work across the harbour. According to Zoran, he is one of the strongest members of the Stars, second only to Hercules. Big Mac is characterised by his rather deep and gruff voice, courtesy of his Glaswegian accent. He is often depicted with a rather stern look on his face. Because of this, you'd be forgiven for thinking that he is rather grumpy and perhaps an unfriendly character. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Despite his rather gruff exterior, Big Mac has a heart of gold and cares deeply for his friends. Much like Tencent, he is always friendly and greets everyone he meets. Sometimes, even his rivals, the Z-Stacks.
Hi, Zebedee! Big Mac, warrior.
Presumably one of the most experienced workers in the fleet, Big Mac is often put in charge of important and dangerous operations alongside OJ and Hercules. I recently introduced a friend of mine to this wonderful show, and he says that he views Big Mac as something of a bigger brother to many of his fellow stars, as he's clearly looked up to and respected. And based on the aforementioned facts, I'd have to agree. Big Mac's loyalty to his friends is also shown by how he always jumps in to defend them whenever they are being berated by others, as he does for Tencent in the episode Pirate, and Warrior in his namesake episode. As seen here and in other scenes, he isn't afraid to speak his mind and does not take shit from anyone, often making direct and blunt statements.
You're taking on a lot there, Big Mac?
Nothing to do with you, how much I got it.
This guy does not beat around the bush. He also joined his colleagues in saving Grampus the submarine from being blown up by the Navy, showing that he is more than willing to put himself in harm's way for the sake of others. This scene also shows us that Big Mac is an incredibly level-headed tug, and rarely phased, as he is often able to keep his cool and dish out orders on the fly, even in dangerous situations. While often level-headed, he isn't above being prone to frustration when dealing with an asshat. For example, if Warrior is clumsy one too many times, or when characters like Zoran or Toppat are acting a bit too egotistical for their own good. He does often laugh along with his friends, and even has something of a dry sense of humour, such as when he made a cheeky jab at Warrior.
You have been damaged at sea.
Not another of your disasters, warrior.
Not me, honest.
I was joking.
I also want to take a moment to discuss his relationship with Warrior. Given that these two appear to be of a similar, if not the same model of tug, you'd be forgiven for thinking that these two are brothers, especially if you follow Thomas and Friends logic, where it's really easy to tell when two characters are siblings, since they are the same class of engine. The Tugs wiki even refers to the two of them being brothers. However, unlike some other characters of the show, I wasn't able to find anything to confirm this. Speaking of his relationship with Warrior, it seems like these two bring out the best in each other. Big Mac brings out Warrior's determination and eagerness to please others, while Warrior brings out Big Mac's leadership skills and experienced wisdom on how to handle jobs. Overall, Big Mac is something of a mixed bag as a character. On the outside, he may appear to be a rather gruff and blunt character, but deep down, he is one of the kindest and most respectable characters in the show. He never got an episode that was fully based around him, but he did get some moments in the spotlight, such as the episodes High Tide and Warrior when he was paired up with the latter, as well as Upriver when he was placed in charge of the logging operation. I mentioned last time that each of the Star Tugs' names appears to have some significance or meaning behind it. Big Mac's is pretty obvious. Big refers to his immense size and strength, and Mac refers to his Scottish ethnicity, since Mac is a Scottish name. Like the rest of the stars, Big Mac's basis comes from the San Francisco Tugs of the 1920s. He is voiced by Sean Barrett, who has appeared in TV shows such as Father Ted and The Adventures of the Big Man. He also went on to voice a ton of other characters in the show. Big Mac's hooter is something of a contrast to his gruff voice, since it has such a rich and melodic tone. If you include the 20-minute VHS cuts, then Big Mac has appeared and spoken in every episode of the show except for Quarantine. As for my thoughts on the character, I really like him. Like the rest of the cast, I've grown to appreciate all of the characters more as an adult after rewatching the series a few times. In the last episode, I likened Tencent to the Season 5 portrayal of Thomas, and thought it would be fun to try to make comparisons for all the characters. However, I found Big Mac to be quite difficult to make this comparison for. I've seen some people compare him to Henry, since both come across as stern and grumpy, but whereas Henry actually can be really grumpy, Big Mac is more dry and blunt. They do both have a gentler side underneath them, but the main reason I don't consider Henry to be Big Mac's counterpart is because Henry is quite often rude and selfish, whereas Big Mac is kind and selfless. Personally, I think a more accurate counterpart for him would be Donald and Douglas. And no, that's not just because they're Scottish characters. Some say you can't distinguish the two, but you really can. Donald is the more light-hearted and friendlier character with a dry sense of humour, while Douglas is the more stern and serious of the two, who stands no nonsense, and often goes out of his way to aid those around him. These traits perfectly sum up Big Mac in my opinion, and easily make him one of the most well-rounded characters in the show. And there you have it, the second episode of Tugs Character Profiles done and dusted. So tell me, what do you guys think of Big Mac? If it wasn't already obvious, I really like his character. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and make sure to click the bell to stay notified for when I upload. Now until next time, I've been Cinders and Ashes UK, you've been awesome, and until then, have a great day.